What is up, Flick Connection? This is Darren here to help you get more out of movies, and today we're going to go over my movie picks of the week. That's going to be picks from all the major streaming services, plus my rental pick and theater pick of the week. Starting with Netflix, I watched Beyond Skyline this past week. Now, I really liked it to a degree. Now, what I will say about this movie is if you watch it and you don't know certain things about it, you're going to go, what is Darren doing? Why is he recommending this garbage? Because it does look like a real low-budget movie. The cool thing about it is an extremely low-budget movie, and they managed to make it look way bigger and more expensive than it is just by developing new techniques. It's essentially created by a guy that does a lot of special effects works for big movies like the Avengers and stuff. This is like a passion project. Frank Grillo's in it. He's really cool. The thing that's cool about this movie is that it's like non-stop. It's just really, once it gets going, it's just action and it just keeps going, and they're constantly on like a new set. In no way did I feel like they were trying to stretch anything out. There's not really lengthy dialogue scenes that really just sort of stretch it out to a feature length. The movie is just packed. And I'll say this is not really my type of movie. It feels almost like a made-for-TV sci-fi channel movie, but just like up to another level. So for that, I really appreciated it. And even at the end, they do some bloopers, and you get to see some of the, you get to see how the sauce is made. They show really kind of how many effects are in it. So I thought that was cool, because that's really what this movie is about. It's a display of what can be done on a very low budget if you know what you're doing. My other one for Netflix, actually, this is the first one I'm recommending publicly that came from the community recommendations, and that is Shimmer Lake. Now, this is a Netflix original, and it's a murder mystery, kind of has a Fargo type vibe. It's not nearly as good as Fargo, but if you love Fargo, you're gonna like this movie. One of the cool things about it is most of the cast is comedic actors. Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office is in it. They just kind of kept coming. There's several guys you're gonna go, oh man, it almost, you feel like it's gonna be a comedy at some point, and it's not. It's got some levity, there's some good lines in it, but it's just a nice little mystery movie, and the cool thing about it is it plays in reverse order. Not really like Memento, where every single scene is in reverse order. This one is every day is in reverse order. And yeah, that sounds like a gimmick, but it's done in this movie it serves the story really well for you to start to kind of get information backwards, and then you suddenly see what started this whole crazy thing. So I thought that was really good. I highly recommend checking that one out. For Amazon, I recommend watching Angel Heart. Now, this is from 1987. A lot of you have probably seen it. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. The reason it's on the list is because I have seen it on streaming services before, but it's rarely available on streaming. I've kind of had an urge to watch this movie several times over the past 10 years, and I'll look and I never find it. Now that it's on there, I'll be watching it this week. But this is Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. Like I said, it's 1987, so it's Mickey Rourke before like he disappeared, and it's a cool kind of film noir. It's a dark detective story. There's a big twist in it, and I don't want to give that away here, but it's dark, it's moody, it's got that, I want to say 90s vibe because it's in the late 80s and it does feel a little more like early 90s, but I recommend it. It's something I've really enjoyed. It's the twist is what makes this movie, but I recommend that one. And then to go really dark, there's a movie called Eaten Alive that I had never seen. Now, I watched this on my sick day. Quentin Tarantino was definitely influenced by this movie and took from this movie. If you remember in Kill Bill, when she's in the coma and the male nurse says, "My name is Buck and I'm here to fuck," that is not only from this movie, it's the opening line of Eaten Alive, and it's said by Robert Englund, who, if that name sounds familiar, he's Freddy Krueger. Now, this is a very young Robert Englund. He's like number 9 on the credit list. He's nobody, but basically it's about this hotel in the South. I can't remember if they ever say like it's in Texas or something, and it's run by this crazy old man that essentially just kind of, as far as I could tell, he just sort of snaps, loses his shit, and just murders a guest whenever he wants. He doesn't seem to have control of it. There were, I'm wrong, as the movie goes on, you start to hear like, not voices, but there's something kind of messing with his head. And then the thing is, he's got this giant crocodile in a pen right off the porch of this hotel, and he's feeding the bodies to the crocodile. Crazy looking. It's got this really cool kind of grindhouse vibe. You know, for some reason, all the women in the beginning are wearing these curly-headed wigs. I don't know what that's about. But, so they look kind of weird. But the sets, it looks like a set, but it looks nice. It looks like something in a Quentin Tarantino movie. It looks like he directly ripped it off. It's cool in that respect. So if you want to watch like an old, something that looks like Rob Zombie maybe directed it, is maybe a better way to say it, check out Eaten Alive. I recommend it if you're into gory horror movies. It'll probably be on an upcoming list of gory horror movies that you can watch online. For Hulu, there's not a lot to pick from on Hulu, but some of the best of the best. I'm recommending Sicario because the sequel is coming out just in a few weeks, so it's a great time to watch that movie. I loved it. Same director as Blade Runner 2049. Great director, really well put together. So highly recommend rewatching Sicario. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, which is why it's so easily available on Hulu, but it is one of the better movies on there right now. And then Hunt for the Wilderpeople. I've recommended it on the channel before. It's a lot of fun. Same director as Thor Ragnarok, so it's got a really good sense of humor. He also did What We Do in the Shadows. If you haven't seen that, I recommend that. This is a nice little story about an adopted kid that runs off into the brush in New Zealand. So it's beautiful, but it's kind of an adventure story, and it's fun, and it's PG-13, so the family can watch this one together. I really enjoyed the heck out of this. The reason it makes my recommendations this list, and it's not just totally random, is the kid that plays Ricky Baker. Really funny kid. Big, real heavy set kid, but really funny for a teenager. Good comedic timing. He is got a major role in the new Deadpool movie, which comes out later this week. So that makes that movie perfect to watch this week. HBO. Not a lot there either, but I put Aliens on my list for recommendations this week. That's another one that's not always easy to find. I go back and forth. I tend to settle on Aliens only because it's just there's so much more going on in it. Even though Alien probably is the better movie. Let me know in the comments below. I kind of want to feel that out. How do you guys feel about Alien versus Aliens? I love James Cameron's sequels. Terminator 2, I mean, he's just really killer at that. At taking something that was successful and just improving upon it and not breaking it down. We definitely need more of that. Get Out is on HBO. I recommend that. Hopefully anybody interested in that has seen it by now. The reason that makes this week's list is because Jordan Peele's new movie has just recently been announced, so it's a good time to watch Get Out. But that's it for streaming recommendations. My pick of the week for a rental is going to be Black Panther. It's the only thing releasing this week. It's one of the biggest movies of the year so far. And I'm not real big into the MCU, but this is a great one. It's going to be the best movie of the week for sure by rental. There's no contest there. Normally this will be a little bit more difficult for me to decide. Not today. You can rent Black Panther if you're listening to this on Tuesday in the edited version. You can rent it today. And then pick of the week for theaters is Deadpool 2. There's really no contest there. Another easy pick. I don't always pick the biggest, baddest thing. Last week I recommended Revenge, which is a very small movie, which you can actually rent. I think it's $5.99 on Amazon or other streaming services if you use Google Play or iTunes. So you can check that one out at home if you want, especially if it's not in the theaters near you. So I don't just pick the basic stuff, but man, Deadpool is just so good. But those are my picks of the week. Hopefully you like that. Everyone seemed to really like that format. This is a new format for me. It allows me to recommend some things I wouldn't otherwise be able to recommend. This segment is actually taken from my Flick Connection Uncut show, which I'm uploading every single Monday. It's kind of like a live podcast, but instead of watching it live, it's just a live recording, completely uncut. Unlike this episode where I've cut in the clips and stuff like I normally would. You can check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. You can also check me out on various podcast outlets, as I'm now posting that on Monday and Tuesday as well.